ta'ala, starting off with our ICN Youth Mecca Movement Quranversation program. Jazakumullah khairan again for hopping in. We'll wait for Sheikh Umar to join us, inshallah ta'ala, from the ICN Youth. This is a collaborative effort between the 1439 program of ICN Youth and the Mecca Movement's Recharge program. There you are. I can't with your glasses. I can't. MashaAllah, we have Sister Jinan is here. Dr. Linda is here. MashaAllah, people are joining us. How you doing, Sheikh? The Syrian Community Network, they do amazing work, MashaAllah. May Allah bless them, are also with us. Zain is here. What a guy. What a guy, Zain Hussein. MashaAllah. How are you, Sheikh Umar?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Taqabbalallah minkum, may Allah accept. Sister Faryal is here. My God, we got some big timers here, mashallah. Sister Layla Fattash, wow.
Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban.
MashaAllah. What's going on, Umar? How's everything?
Alhamdulillah.
Jameel. Facebook family, we're waiting and we'll get started shortly, inshallah.
I think they already went live on Facebook, so.
Okay, nice. Good stuff. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
How have the last 10 nights of Ramadan been for you, Sheikh Umar, so far?
It's a good question. It's interesting. It's different. It's like faster.
What are the vibes?
I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. It's like faster in a way. Like it doesn't feel like it's already the 26th night, if that makes sense. Like more than half the last 10 are done. And it's just like, wow, it's like, are we in the last 10? You know? I don't know how to explain it. But yeah. What about you?
Well, alhamdulillah, it's definitely moving fast. And like, unless I think we're also having to like be a little bit more responsible for ourselves. Unless you're being super proactive, the time is going by and we might not be hitting our goals or doing what we would like to accomplish. So I also feel like it's moving faster, but there's also a greater responsibility to like take control of it ourselves, you know, as opposed to Ramadan, where usually it's like, okay, you show up to the masjid and it's like, okay, Ramadan is happening, let's do our Ramadan thing. Now it's like you have to be seeking it, you know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Dr. Linda said that movement is not on Facebook yet. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I mean, whoever Dr. Linda, whoever can access that can just go ahead and share that, inshallah ta'ala. Shall we get started, Armon?
Bismillah, let's get started.
Sister Sanya Tastic makes an interesting comment. She says, can you feel a loss of time? And I was talking to Sheikh Hassan Natur today. We know that he recently lost his grandmother. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on her.
Amen.
And he had lost track of the day of the week, and we both like just like, wow, like this kind of happens now, you know, where you don't know what exactly. So definitely agree that there's a loss of time. But let's start the Quranversation, shall we?
All right. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, by the way, I wanted to say I just didn't know if your name was I didn't know, like sometimes it's a
you thought you thought her name was actually Sanya Tastic?
I wasn't exactly thinking it's Sanya Tastic, but
I'm just wondering if like that crossed your mind. Like,
no.
Have you ever met anyone with the last part of their name?
You know, there's some like there's some like Americanized things like Nader has established a trend at Mecca to say stacks of jazaks, and now even like Dr. Linda uses it. Yahya used it in one of our Healing Hearts videos. So like I thought maybe Sanya-tastic is like this new like, you know, Americanized version of like people's identity or whatever. I don't know. So I just didn't want to be conclusive. That's all.
I have no idea what you're saying right now, but
all I'm saying is I didn't want to offend someone accidentally. That's all. But go ahead, get us started. What I was going to say is, please feel free if you have a particular Ya Ayyuha Alladhina Amanu verse that stuck out to you. I know. So since our last conversation, Sheikh Ahmad, I've come across a few more, and I was like, okay, I'm, you know. So if you've come across,
I'm glad that you have, because I haven't.
No, I'm sure you're loaded, mashallah. So go ahead, Sheikh. I'm gonna start us off.
I just said you haven't.
No, please start us with something. Yeah, we want
so I'm not gonna start with an ayah, but I'm gonna start with actually something that I was looking through some of the ayat. Bismillah, Safi and these guys are still trying to get me to follow them on Instagram. Bro, they made a whole WhatsApp group that just literally is.
I just left those alone, bro. I was like, yeah, you know.
Did they do it? They did it to you too?
I had an already existing group, so they had like this intervention thing, and I just ignored it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyways, Bismillah. So I was looking through like the list of the Ya Ayyuha Alladhina Amanu. And one thing that I noticed is that they're concentrated, a lot of them, in the Madani surahs. A lot of them, right? The surahs that were revealed after Hijrah. So a lot of them are dealing with like laws.
For sure.
Like don't do this, do that, like the laws of wudu and these kind of things, and you know, the laws related to certain, you know, society building things, right? And some of them can get technical, like some of them are also like the rulings when it comes to oaths and hunting and ihram and these kind of things. And so when I was going through them, it reminded me of this concept of building iman before, like if we're having a hard time with accepting maybe some of the rules of Islam, or we're struggling with some of like the do's and don'ts, and maybe even questioning like, why do we have to do this, or why this many times, why can't we do this, right? That's kind of a lot of times like a common question, especially when we're kind of growing up and we're dealing with like younger people, like, wait, why can't we do that? Why can't we drink that? Why can't we eat that? Why do we have to do that? And so this address of Ya Ayyuha Alladhina Amanu, in the idea that it's coming and dealing with a lot of these rules and these laws, there is like an understanding that's behind that, which is that this is coming to people who are working on their iman. Or in another way I should put it is that it's coming to people who have like they've established their iman. And so when you work on it, or if you're struggling with it, one thing that makes accepting and living by the laws easier is focusing on the building of iman, right? And that's why like the hadith of Aisha, where she says, if the first things that were to come down, like if the first revelations to come down were, don't drink alcohol, don't fornicate, don't do these things, that came later on, that came in Medina, she said if those were the first revelations to come down, then you would have found people struggling to accept those, struggling to live by those. But she said the first things to come down were the rulings, or not the rulings, I should say, but the ayat of who Allah is, the ayat of reward, the ayat of punishment, this concept of building in people an awareness of who Allah is, a connection to Allah. And when that becomes entrenched, and when that becomes ingrained in the heart and in the spirit, then following those laws and living that lifestyle after becomes that much more easier. And that's why when those ayahs came down, like one of the ayahs of Ya Ayyuha Alladhina Amanu is basically don't drink. إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام. These things are from the tools of shaitan, right? So don't involve yourself in them. فاجتنبوه, stay away from them. What was the response of the companions when they heard فاجتنبوه, stay away from it? Is they said, or when it said فهل أنتم منتهون, so are you going to stop? Wow. They said yes, we're going to stop right away. And so they were ready for it. So they were literally like the narrations mentioned. Some of them had the cup to their mouth. This is not.
This is I was about to say,
it's water. Some of them had the cup to their mouth. Some of them were about to pour themselves a drink. When they hear فاجتنبوا and فهل أنتم منتهون, they're able right away to stop, because you said, they're ready for it, right? And so what that shows us is, like, if this is something that we're struggling with, like the rites of Islam, the rituals of Islam have become maybe a little burdensome on us, and it can happen to all of us. It's a reminder to go back to the things that will allow us to find more acceptance and more ease in those things, which is working on our iman, who Allah is, our connection with Him. So that's just a reflection that I had with kind of looking through these verses.
That's definitely beautiful. I think what's interesting, just to go off of what you were saying, Sheikh Umar, may Allah bless you, is that my thought process, looking at a lot of them, was very similar in the fact that a lot of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, addresses us at the core. Like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala identifies us in these ayat, He identifies us as a people of faith. That means at the root of everything that we do is a faith. That means the principle or the core of everything that we do is that faith, right? And so that's why you find the first 1400 years, the first 13 years of our tradition was very faith oriented, because it is what defines our identity, right? What defines our identity is our faith in Allah, is our faith in the books, is our faith in the angels, is our faith in the obligations that we have, the Day of Judgment, and so on and so forth. So it was as if all of the laws are a result of the faith that we have, and our identity is defined by our faith, which then inspires us to do the obligations that are upon us. And that's why I think Sister Sanya, kind of talked about that as well in her comments. May Allah bless her. She talked about it started with that faith, when for many of us growing up, there was this really strong focus on starting with the rules, the do's and the do-nots. And I think when we talk about our own spiritual growth, and even the da'wah that we do to our family and our friends and our loved ones, we need to go back to that prophetic model that says, when Allah talks about us, He calls us a people of faith. Before we call people to the rules of the faith, let's call people to the faith itself. If you want people to abandon alcohol for Allah, they need to know who Allah is. If you want people to follow the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then they need to know who the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. Obviously, knowing Allah and knowing His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a continuous thing, but there needs to be like this fundamental amount of knowledge and connection with Allah in order to begin to start living for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that hadith of Aisha you mentioned, radiallahu ta'ala anha, our mother, is a perfect indication of they had the faith that it took to make those major life changes on an individual level, on a familial level, on a societal level, that were based off of the already existing faith that they had. And that's kind of what we see from those ayats. And any of those ayat come to mind for you, Omar? Any of the
yes. So actually, based off of that, the one that stands out, it follows in that pattern, or it follows with this idea, is Surah An-Nisa, ayah 136. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu آمنوا بالله ورسوله والكتاب الذي نزل على رسوله والكتاب الذي أنزل من قبل. And so what that does, like my reflection on that, just very, very initially and briefly, and then I'll let you take it, inshallah.
It's all you.
Is this? It shows us that faith is an active process too. It's not something just like, okay, yeah, I'm a Muslim and that's it, right? Allah is saying, "Oh, you who have believed, believe. Oh, you who have faith, have faith. Aminu.
Allah.
Right? So it's an active process. It's something that it's a journey. It's something that you're working on. It's something that you are constantly kind of moving with. Right? And it's not a static thing that just sits there and it's like a one-time thing that, okay, yeah, I'm a believer, and then that's it. I have that belief, and then whatever. It's just something I put in the back of the closet or something that I just have. Right? So it's showing us, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, oh, you have believed, aminu. Believe, yani, work towards your faith, improve in that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah tells us what are those things that we are actively working on in our faith, right? And it also shows us that faith is a more than an informational experience. I believe it's a transformational experience, right? It's not just you learn a bunch of facts. Allah is one. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Prophet. The Quran is our book. We believe in angels, and then okay, these are like pieces of information I have inside of me, like a computer, right? But rather, it's a transformational process in that when I'm actively learning these things and trying to embody what it means to believe in these things, that I'm improving as a person along the way. Right? The more that I know about who Allah is, the more that makes me a better person, or at least theoretically. Right? It makes me a more confident person. It makes me a more courageous person. It makes me someone who's more aware of my relationships and how to deal with them. So faith is definitely an active process that requires investment. It requires investment.
And then that was honestly, man, you chose an ayah that's like, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu, oh, you who believe.
I love
that kind of has, wallah, it's just like, so what that tells us a few things, kind of just reiterate kind of what you talked about, Sheikh Omar. That tells us, number one, that your belief is never complete, right? And your faith is also, just a reflection for me. I also know faith is not just like on or off. It's not an on and off switch. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like faith is more like a scale. It's more like, a metric of something that's going continuously up and down. And this is off of our tradition, right? Al-Iman yazidu wa yanqus, that our faith in Allah is something that's kind of like a roller coaster. It goes up and down. And so then it becomes like, when Allah says, oh, you who believe, it's like, I need to be proactively renewing my faith. I need to be proactively increasing in my faith. I need to go to the places that increase my faith. I need to talk to the people that increase my faith. I need to read the material that increases my faith. I need to engage in the actions that increase my faith, because Allah is telling me, oh, you who believe like it's an action. That faith is not just a thing. It's not just, like you mentioned, it's not just informational, it's transformational. So my faith is going to require action. It's going to require action in solitude. It's going to require action in congregation, in a communal setting. It's going to require action with my family. And so all of this allows faith to be really something that, like you mentioned, is transformational and is consistent and continuous. That's beautiful, mashallah.
Yeah,
absolutely. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu. Oh, you who believe. That's beautiful, mashallah. Jameel. Somebody in the comments was saying hashtag trust the process. I was like, okay, we have a person who's and actually even that, trusting the process of developing our faith, right? That if you're not going to be where you want to be overnight, that our faith is something. If it took the greatest generation, radiallahu ta'ala anhum, years to be where they wanted to be, and fighting addictions to things like alcohol and fighting social trends that were problematic, then it's going to be a process that takes time and effort for us as well,
Jameel. And that's so important, I think, too, like, because I think now, especially, we're in a time where, like, we want the quick fix to everything, right? All of us, right? Just
everything. Like G90X, 30 days on a diet. All these, everything is quick fix.
90-day fiancés. I'm just joking. I don't watch that. I swear to God, I don't watch it. Just because, like, it passes by. I don't watch it.
We were in two very different places.
But the point is, though, like even now, it was like, before it was like, a class is going to be like a month long. And then it's like, okay, no, we'll get it done in a week. And then it's like, okay, I'll watch a YouTube video in an hour. And now it's like, dude,
a 5-minute clip. How are you guys going to be on?
If it's more than a 60-second Instagram clip, I'm out, right? I'm not even trying to be a part of
That's too much of it. People are afraid to commit.
Yeah,
people are afraid to commit. They're afraid to commit, Umar. People, and by people I mean me. People are afraid to commit. No, people are afraid to commit to a 60-second video clip. They're like, that's too much commitment. I'm gonna dip after 30 seconds, you know. So
no, I mean, I see it for myself, dude. But I see it for myself. Like if a YouTube video, someone sends me a YouTube video, they're like, "Watch this, it's amazing." What's the first thing that you look at? It's like, all right, this sounds like a good topic, but dude, that's it. That's a 7-minute video.
Hey,
like, by the way, I'm trying to watch a 7-minute video.
Yeah. Have you watched a giraffe give birth yet?
Why would I watch a giraffe give birth?
Those are really popular nowadays, bro. Those are. But anyway, so the idea no, you haven't seen those? They show up on my Facebook feed.
I don't know what you're searching that you're seeing giraffes give birth. But no, I've never seen a giraffe give birth. I swear to God, I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't do it while you're eating anything. But it's a thing. It's a thing. It's
one of our friends. I'm not gonna say who. I'm not gonna call him out. He sent me a video of someone giving birth. Like it wasn't showing anything. Like it was just showing the baby come out.
Yeah,
it was just covered. And he's like, "Hey, do you think this is inappropriate to post?" I was like, "Dude, first of all, give me a warning when you send me a video like
you're like
number one. Number
casually.
2, it's like, no, I don't want to see this. No one wants. And 3, why would you post that? Why would you?
What I'm saying is, we're afraid to commit. We're afraid to commit to, like, you know. Okay, so this is the idea. The giraffe thing. The reason why we're talking about, we're afraid to commit to things, right? And so I talked about really a weird tangent, the giraffe video. But we are afraid to commit when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the other things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this ayah of Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu, right? Oh, you who believe, we're afraid to commit and believe in things. People are still recovering, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I'm afraid to go into this ayah when people are still thinking about the giraffe. But this is really a somewhere to go. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kaffa. You know, like there's this, like, we talk about, oh, you who believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in another verse, he says, where is that, by the way, Sheikh Ahmad? Ya ayyuhalladhina, oh, you who believe, udkhulu fi silmi kaffa. Oh, you who believe, enter into submission to Allah completely. Right? Yeah. That's commitment right there. Islam literally means submission and commitment, right? By the way, they're giving you blame for the tangent. They put the tangent on you. Just so you know, it wasn't me.
I didn't even say anything. You're the one.
I just brought up giraffes.
This is Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 208. 208.
Okay. And so, yeah, so the idea there is part of Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu, oh, you who believe in Allah and His Messenger, showing that this belief is something that is continuously, requiring proactive effort, like Sheikh Umar, may Allah bless him, mentioned. It reminded me of another verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh, you who believe, udkhulu fi silmi, right? Oh, you who believe, enter into submission to Allah kaffa, completely, right? And so this idea of, number one is it needs to be proactive. We talked about that. Oh, you who believe. It needs to be proactive. It requires action. It requires continuity. It requires commitment. And then we've seen this other verse, really Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about, oh, you who believe, enter into this faith completely. Enter into this. It doesn't even say udkhulu fil Islam. It says udkhulu fis silmi, right? Enter into this state of submission completely, right? And so I wanted to hear your thoughts on that ayah, Sheikh Umar.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think you got it. I think you got it when you're saying, like, so it's a combination of saying, you know what, I'm going to take ownership of my journey, my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to let, like, someone else who maybe, this is what we find a lot of times too, which is that, like, maybe a traumatic experience with our faith, or with someone, I should say, when it comes to our faith, kind of puts a sour taste to the experience for us. For sure. And it maybe even pushes us away, right? But to be able to recognize that that doesn't define our relationship with Allah, that no one can take us away or push us away from having a relationship with Allah, and being able to separate between those two things, right? And then once you take ownership to that, then like you said, this verse I think follows perfectly of recognizing that this is a lifetime commitment as well, right? And when you say lifetime commitment, like udkhulu fi silmi kafa, enter completely, it's people get scared of that commitment, right? A lot of us are scared of commitment, right? But they get scared of this idea that that means that I'm not going to be able to do anything that I used to do before, maybe when I wasn't as practicing. That means that I have to make new friends and look a certain way and dress a certain. So like we get this fear that becoming committed to Allah means a complete and 180 change of who I am, and I have to lose myself in the process. But the idea is that you don't, like, what committing to Islam, committing to Allah is actually just enhancing who you are as a person. Refining. It's putting those, like, it's giving you the tools to work on the qualities that you need to work on through time and through recognition that nobody's perfect. Allah doesn't demand perfection from us. He demands effort from us, right? And what he wants from us is that we become the best versions of who we are. And that process is a long process. That's a lifelong journey.
Would you agree, Sheikh Omar, it's a never-ending process? Would we say
until you meet Allah?
Until you meet Allah. Absolutely.
Until you meet Allah. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, please.
No, I always give the quote that Sheikh Albani, he mentions, rahimahullah, and he says that the goal when we're on the path, and we always talk about being guided and being on the straight path. He says that the goal is not that you get to that, like the straight path is not like
there's no finish line.
It's not like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, like you're trying to get to.
Lucky Charms, which are not halal.
Lucky Charms are like the cereal that
halal.
They're not halal, but it's like the cereal that like Shaitan made look the best.
SubhanAllah. It's like you gotta lower your gaze from that cereal.
It's like, dude, I've always wanted Lucky Charms. I've always wanted Lucky Charms. They don't even look that great, but like, they just, anyways, that's a tangent. But apparently they came out with this like halal version of Lucky Charms.
I bet you. Well, no, I have not seen this. What is it?
Like Galaxy or something like that.
I was gonna like do a spin on the name, but Galaxy Bites. Man, Sister Ferial is on top of it.
How are they, by the way? How are they? Because I want to get them, but I don't want to be disappointed. So give us your review if you've had them, and let us know.
Yeah.
Man, I completely forgot what I was talking about.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You're talking about Sheikh Albani talking about it not being a pot at the end of the
okay, yeah. So he said being on Captain Crunch is okay too. I like the ones without the balls.
The color ones. How do you feel about the color ones?
I feel like at the end of the day they're just like, it's just like fluff.
Wow, Sister Ferial didn't like Galaxy Bites.
Ouch. Okay. Anyways, we're going into cereals here now. We don't want to get into cereals. Well, I'll just keep going. So what I was saying is, so what he mentions is, he says chocolate Captain Crunch. I got
Sheikh Omar, please.
So he says that the goal is not like to get to the end of the straight path, right? We talk about we had to stay on the straight path. We're trying to stay on the straight path. He says the goal is that we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we're on the straight path, even if that means that we're crawling. Even if that means that we're barely holding on, we're like, taking one like crawl at a time, whatever it means, like whatever it takes to be on that path. And even if it means that you're struggling on that path, when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the goal, right? So entering into
Jamil.
Entering into like bidin kafa, bisilmi kafa, it means like making that commitment and recognizing that you're not going to be perfect along it, but you know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to make an effort. I'm going to try to hold on to my deen.
No, I mean Allah, Jazakallah khairan, Shaykh Ahmad, you're spitting fire, Allah Yazzak. And so one of the things that you reminded me of is Sheikh Muhammad Hassan rahmatullah alayhi rahmatan wasi'ah. One day I was at a restaurant with him, and his son Abdurrahman, who's now grown, is like a foot and a half taller than me. Most people are about a foot and a half taller than me. But he was with us, and he was a little kid at the time. And so he was coloring, you know, when you go to a restaurant and they give you that little paper and you can like color, and they give you some crayons or whatever. And so his son colored, and Sheikh Muhammad Hassan rahmatullah alayhi, he looked at that and he says, and he told me, he says, Wallahi, our efforts with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are nothing more than a little child coloring on a paper. You know, when he shows his mom, you know, when like a 2-year-old or 3-year-old Sheikh Ahmad colors, and it's a bunch of scribbles and it has really no significance. And he's not even coloring within the lines. Like there are lines there, color within the lines, you know? And he's just like, here, mama, look at this. And it's a disaster. It really is. It's nothing impressive. And the mom was like, oh yeah, very good job. And then if she's like super into it, she'll like put it up on the fridge, even though it's like a polka dotted giraffe. Don't ask me why I keep mentioning giraffes. But like the idea is that's our effort with Allah. Yani, and Allah is above all examples, right? But that's our effort with Allah. It's so trivial. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not asking us to be perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not asking us to reach that level. It's never that you're gonna be at a point where like, okay, Allah is happy with me, and I've done everything, every part of Islam. Like I'm rocking it in every part of Islam. I'm a master of all of Islam. That's not how it works. It's gonna be that sometimes we're gonna be struggling with our desires. Sometimes we're gonna, like, let's say a person knows less about Islam, right? They know less about Islam, and then later on and so their challenge at that point of time is that they're less knowledgeable. Later on, their challenge is going to be that they have knowledge and they need to practice that knowledge. Then when they start practicing that knowledge, they're going to be struggling with showing off and arrogance and ostentation and all these different things, right? So at every point of time, your battle is going to be uniquely different. We never start fighting shaitan, and we never are giving up on our struggle to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the next ayah that I really wanted to talk about, Sheikh Ahmad, I really want to hear your thoughts on, is this ayah in the Quran, very beautiful ayah, very like just clean, very straight to the point. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, ittaqullah, be mindful, be conscious, be aware of Allah. Like we could just pause there and talk about that for the rest of the night till Fajr. Ittaqullaha wa kunu, and be ma'as sadiqeen, and be with those who are honest and truthful. Honest and truthful with Allah, honest and truthful with themselves, honest and truthful with others. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, ittaqullah, have taqwa of Allah, have that mindset of knowing Allah. Ittaqullah, be mindful of Allah, wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen, and be with those who are truthful and honest with themselves, honest and truthful with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only thing I wanted to mention, Shaykh Umar, that I observed, it's this is ayah 119 of Surah At-Tawbah, is it is almost as if we can say, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, it is almost as if you can say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is indicating to us that one of the ways to attain taqwa is by being with the sadiqeen. You know, yeah, you who believe, be mindful of Allah and be with those who are truthful with Allah, truthful with themselves, truthful with everyone around them. It is as if by affiliating ourselves with those people, we gain taqwa and mindfulness and consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are your thoughts, Shaykh Umar?
I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, obviously we can't like limit the meaning just to that, right? And that's not what I'm saying, but that fits perfectly there. And then when you look at the context of this verse, like where it's coming in, it's in Surah At-Tawbah. This is right after the ayat of the three in the Battle of Tabuk, Ka'b ibn Malik, the story of Ka'b ibn Malik, which is one of the most beautiful stories that we have in our tradition, a story of like redemption and repentance and tawbah. And I'm sure you guys have went through it. I'm sure you guys have went through it at Mecca. We did it in a couple of sessions at 1439, and it's such a beautiful story because it shows this idea of taqwa also being, a process and and this concept that taqwa doesn't mean perfection, but it means being able to get back up after falling. It means being able to recognize your own shortcomings and not necessarily justify them, but like work on them and try to get better. And that's what we see. And I wish we could tell the story of Ka'ab ibn Malik, but I know it's all over, you know, and people can go reference back to it and these things. But and then that's what Allah, you know, gives as almost like some of the scholars, they describe this as like the summary of the story. Right, when Allah says وَعَلَى الثَّلَاثَةِ الَّذِينَ خُلِّفُوا, and then He mentions there's the story in a few ayats, and then at the end He says يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. This is like the way, like you said, to establish taqwa, to give yourself the best chance to succeed, is one of the greatest ways is to be with the people of righteousness, the people of truthfulness, not just truthful in their speech, but truthful in their just genuineness and their sincerity. And I think that this story reflects it. So I think that's another very beautiful take-home point, is that the environment that we're in it plays a huge role in making us people of taqwa, of giving us that push to be people who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the environment that we have, the people that we have around us, whether we're a good environment to the people who are around us.
Jameel, beautiful. Any other ayat that stick out to you? By the way, those of you who are with us, may Allah bless you, may Allah reward you. If you came across a Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu verse over the past couple of days, please feel free to share it with us here. We'd love to get your thoughts as well. Any other ayah that stuck out to you, Sheikh Ahmad?
So one that sticks out, Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 41. Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu dhkuru Allaha dhikran kathira.
Allah.
That one stood out. We were talking about this in our discussion of Surah Al-Ahzab, how whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions dhikr in the Quran as an attribute of the believers, He always mentions it with this adjective of kathira, of like doing it a lot, right? And it's interesting, like, why do you think that is? Like, why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala why is this directive being given? Don't just remember Allah, but remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in abundance, plentifully. Why do you think that is?
I mean, Allahu a'lam. But one thing that comes to my mind is number one, the people who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can I say this? Those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly, they are the ones who earn that place that we talked about in our last session, where we talked about there's these people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes the hearing with which they hear with, the seeing that with which they see with. They earn that by remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly, right? There are people who are in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when they, wake up, they remember Allah. When they, go into the restroom, they remember Allah. When they leave the restroom, they remember Allah. When they pray, they remember Allah. When they leave their house to go to work, they remember Allah. When they're going up a hill or up a stairs, they remember Allah. When they're going down, they're remembering Allah. When they get into a fight, they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they're disappointed with bad news, they remember Allah. When they hear good news, they remember Allah. And so it's as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the things that we recognize is that the people who remember Allah continuously and constantly, that what happens to them is they reach that maqam and manzila of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being a constant with them and being inconstant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's where you find this concept of ma'iyyat Allah, right? This idea of being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my only take home from all of that is, it is not simply that we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a novelty or as like a thing that happens sometimes. It is that the believer is one who's remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know how like there's this idea of I remember Allah. When I remember Allah, then I live it up and I do what I want when I want to do it. The believer is constantly remembering Allah because Allah becomes a part of everything that he does subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a constant.
And I think that's what taqwa is too, right?
Like absolutely.
The taqwa is translated in so many different ways, but I think it's just like this awareness of Allah. Right? Being able to look at the world through the lenses, see what I did there, lenses of
the only benefit thus far of your glasses, by the way.
They're helping my eyes, alhamdulillah, okay?
You don't even know that. This could be a conspiracy.
What do you mean I don't know that?
Is this scientifically proven? Is this scientifically proven?
Are you scientifically proven?
No, and I claim to be.
Exactly.
This could be like one of those things that's come out recently as like just a gimmick, you know?
It makes my eyes feel better.
Okay. But you were mentioning, Sean, what you were saying.
No, I'm gonna create an awkward silence here until you realize what you said we're gonna take it.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here before. She just did that. I don't know if you were here before, but we were discussing giraffes giving birth. So if you missed that, you want to go back and catch up on that. Are they blue light? No, we are not going to discuss your glasses again.
They are blue light canceling. Thank you very much.
They are not prescriptions, Sister Sanya. This is all.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
You literally told me they are not prescriptions. So yes, I do.
I don't remember saying that.
But in any case, yeah.
So I think we mentioned this before, but I think the concept here, the idea of being abundant in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is it goes back, I think, to what we were talking about in the beginning, like this idea of faith being an active process. Faith being an active process. And one of the reflections of that in our own lives is in our remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why, you know, we look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as our example. And he was someone who was constantly remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in whatever situation. Right? I remember Sheikh Ahmed Arafat was mentioning this in one of his khutab. He was quoting, I think, Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali or someone like that. And he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his heart was constantly attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so in every situation, in every circumstance, there was a dhikr, there was a remembrance that brought that attachment of the heart out on the tongue. Right? To the point that even like when something as simple as the wind blowing, we see the wind blowing and we're like, oh, cool, it's the wind blowing. But he was able to connect that to Allah and make dua to Allah and ask Allah. Right, and I remember this.
God speaks about this actually.
Actually, I was just gonna say that I remember sitting in one of Sheikh Muhammad Mukhtar's his durus, and I remember sitting there, and I'm like, kind of like it's been going on for a long time. I'm kind of hungry. Like it's like, is this gonna be over?
Where are we gonna go afterwards? What's gonna be
the dinner move? Right, and he was he was like making these connections that I would have never even thought of. Right, like just like connecting, like the fact that you're sitting on a carpet and thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that, right? And how this is like a sign of Allah's blessing on you, that he gave you this carpet to sit, he gave you this air conditioning, like just making these connections to things that normally that we just pass by or overlook or forget about, but someone who's in a state of constant remembrance is able to see the divine in the mundane.
Allah, say that again, Sheikh. I'm gonna say that again.
Only if you say my glasses are awesome. I'm just joking. So to see the divine in the mundane, in what we consider the mundane, right? And one of my favorite examples of that is the story that's mentioned about Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, when he's sitting there eating a piece of fruit, and they see him kind of crying, or like he's like emotional,
teary-eyed.
It's like what are you like? What are you crying about? Like I've cried. I haven't cried, but I've been teary-eyed when I've had food that was really good.
I had lamb chops oreganado before. That was the first time I shed tears
Dude, there's some foods that will make you like
make you emotional,
make
you a little emotional.
Wow. Wow. And what's beautiful about that? People always roast on me for that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what does he say in the Quran? فَلْيَنظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. Let mankind look at his food, right? Not from this perspective.
You know what I'm saying?
Perspective of me being like a fij'an or anything, just always wanting to eat, but just from a perspective of like how amazing
how beautiful it is,
right? Like how amazing is like this fact that we have so many different types.
You know what's crazy, Umar? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think I've quoted it in almost like every talk recently. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the stars, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just talking about like, okay, I did this, I created the heavens without pillars, I created the earth, I created the mountains as pegs. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the stars, and when he talks about the functions of the stars, it's a means of a guide, it gives some light. One of the reasons Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or the functions of the stars, is to beautify the sky. Like Allah put the stars the way that he did because he wanted that when Tariq and Muhammad and Umar and Fatima and Maryam look at the stars, he wanted us to enjoy looking at the stars. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed a filet mignon on this earth, you know what I'm saying? It's so we can it's so we can enjoy that filet mignon. You know, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did it, so we appreciate that. And so this idea of one of the brothers he converted recently, Sheikh Umar, just going off of your idea of seeing the divine in the mundane, beautifully said, may Allah bless and preserve you. He said something, he says, one of the things that led me to Islam is that Islam allows everything to be an experience. He's like, like everything becomes like an unforgettable experience. You eat, it's an experience. You experience the meal. You hang out with friends, we have a dua you say at the end, every single thing that you go through, like that story of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu eating a piece of fruit, that becoming an experience. You sit with your family, that's an experience. You feel the wind, that's an experience. Everything becomes an experience, and that's just what a beautiful life that is. You know what that reminds me of, Sheikh Umar? That reminds me of the ayah we covered last time, that يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. Or you who believe, respond to Allah and His Messenger when they call you to that which gives you life. It's like you begin to really live. Your eating it has life in it. Your praying has life in it. You're going out with friends, it has life in it. Everything becomes so not only purposeful. I think last time we talked about drinking tea. Yeah, someone mentioned drinking tea has life in it. Last time when we talked about this ayah, we talked about it from the perspective of it gives purpose and meaning to everything, but it also gives so much pleasure to everything, right? Everything has so much more depth and meaning and pleasure and beauty in it, right? So you'll see one person eating a piece of bread and they give no care to the bread, they have no value to the bread, they don't appreciate the bread. And then you have someone like Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu and the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu al-Jamia, and they'll think about this bread it was a grain, and then it went through the process of being like, I don't know how bread is made, I'll be honest. I'd have to look that up on YouTube.
You don't know how bread is made? Wait.
No, I mean, it has to be made. Oh, God. Like the entirety of the process, I'm not particularly a bread expert, is all I'm saying, Yani. So that then it's made into flour, and then it gets.
What happens after the flour? Please tell me.
Then you got to mix it with water and all that. Like, all I'm saying is there's so much that's put into the bread before it gets to you. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And all of that to be up, and even after you consume it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I don't think I finished the story with Abu Bakr, but that was the idea.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just saying, Yani, you kind of got hinted at it what it was, but that's the idea, right? Is that Abu Bakr he was eating that, and they asked him, and he said,
I just want to say thank you, Sister Sanya. Thank you, Sister Sanya. That's right. Somebody needs to call you out. Anyway, go on.
I wasn't asking about science of glasses. I know the science of glasses. It's a piece of glass, it reflects, and it helps you see. What do you want from me? But he was eating this apple. Can I finish the apple story?
Yes, please.
And they asked him, what was making him so emotional about it, and he mentioned that he just thought about like what you said, this entire process that it took for this piece of fruit to come to me, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this piece of fruit in particular and specifically meant for me to eat it, right? Like, think about that. Like, every piece of food that we eat was created and was made for us to eat, was made for us to benefit from, was made for us to, to enjoy, in essence, right? And again, that's this idea of seeing the divine in the mundane. And something you said about the stars too, I just wanted to make a side point. You don't really appreciate thank you. Finally, we have someone.
Who are these people? Who are these people?
I appreciate it. Mashallah.
It reflects stuff and helps you see. That's right. Go on.
Watching this with blue light glasses too. It looks like. Anyways,
I am not. Anyway,
I'm not gonna gloat, but we're in
you were mentioning the stars.
Oh yeah, the stars. Like, I don't think we get to appreciate them. Like, I remember, bro, a few times when we went to camp. You know me, I'm not really a big camp guy, but
yeah. But we had good times together in camp somewhat.
But like, going out and actually seeing stars, you really understand.
Mostly you enjoyed being in my company, right? Mostly
the camps.
Being in my company.
Yeah.
So talk about the stars.
The stars are beautiful, but you really have to actually be able to appreciate them. I can actually go out and see them. I don't know. I just was thinking about that and just remember.
No, you're absolutely, and you know what, and that's actually one of the things that is to really look for those things, right? To seek these opportunities to recognize.
Yeah, and that's why it goes back to this ayah. اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. Like, to be able to find opportunities and to find, places where you can remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and really turn those things into a moment of connection with Allah, a moment of reflection, a moment of purpose, a moment of purpose. And like you said, that's the way to enjoy them as well.
Right.
That's the way to enjoy them.
Definitely make it into an experience that's worthwhile, appreciating it, valuing it, loving it, for sure.
Definitely.
We talked about, Sheikh Omar, this idea of Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqin. Be mindful of Allah, be aware of Allah, be conscious of Allah, and be with those who are truthful. And you talked about truthfulness not just being like honest in the sense of not lying. You want to expand upon that a little bit?
Go ahead.
I feel like I've talked a lot. Well, I'd love to hear more.
I think I talked more. I think you were talking a lot about classes and a lot about things that
I for one think that we like it.
I like. Let's recap the 4 ayat, and then you can talk about this idea of sidq.
Sure. You know what? Let's recap it. Go for it.
Oh, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on this idea of.
No, I honestly, we can keep it till next time too. Go on. Let's recap real quick because we're at like 53 minutes. So
okay, so we took 4 ayat today. Number 1, Ya ayyuhalladhina aminu, right? And how iman is an active process. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffa. Enter into the I'm about to get roasted right now, I feel. Enter into Islam like in complete submission, like just holistically, completely. Number 3, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqin. Be conscious of Allah and be in the company of those who are truthful. And then number 4, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udhkurullaha dhikran kathira. And I think, alhamdulillah, we're able to kind of connect between them and really kind of come up with just a few important take-home points, inshallah. So
inshallah ta'ala. And this is, by the way, this job is this is so easy. Isn't this so easy? Because wallahi, sometimes all you have to do is just, this is the words of Allah. You know what I'm saying? Just like let it soak in. This is not something that requires anything more than pausing and spending time with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And wallahi, I can confidently say that it's a blessing in my life, and it's something that I genuinely appreciate. And I wanted to thank you, Sheikh Omar, and say that you're a star in our night, Sheikh Omar. You see that?
God.
You're a star in our night. You're brightening it up.
Yeah, like a black star. Black hole.
A black star, this guy. I get roasted on for sanitizing my hands while we're on the live, but how does one actually Triple H Hafid Hamza Hussein is asking, how does one actually reflect on the Quran? There's a few things I can mention. I know we're wrapping up, Sheikh Umar, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. A few things that I've learned and from my teachers and elders. Number one is, when you're reading the Quran, read it slowly and take your time. Don't think that you're gonna finish. Just think that you're just reading. You're just enjoying this, right? So pace yourself. But the actual steps are, number one is remind yourself who's saying what is being said. Remind yourself of who is the one saying what is being said. And number two is remind yourself who it is being said to, which is you, and then reflect on what is it that's being said. So who is the one saying it? Who is it being said to? And what is it that's being said to you, right? If you break it up into answer those three questions and take your time on that, it will allow you to kind of engage with the Quran and know that every verse is said by Allah, every verse is said for you, and every verse has something for you in it, inshallah ta'ala.
Perfect. Love it. Jazakallah khair.
Barakallahu feek. I don't care if you think I'm cheesy for calling Sheikh Umar the star of our night, brother Ibrahim Tawil. God bless you. God bless you and reward all of you. Yeah,
it's good to see everyone. It's good to see everyone with us. Alhamdulillah. It's a different experience, but it's a blessing to be able to have things like this and seeing all the names and the familiar names. I think that's Nadir.
Yes, Nadir just showed up right now at the end. No, don't call him yet. Please. And he just came just to compliment the glasses. Sorry.
Okay, so I think no, it's going to be about an hour soon. So let's end with dua, please, if you can help us. If you end with dua, and just a reminder. So the next time that we're going to be doing this is not tomorrow night; it's the night after, right? To give that time for everyone to have their odd nights, inshallah, for them. But that doesn't mean just ignore completely the even nights as well. But tomorrow is the 27th night, so just a general reminder for all of us, inshallah. And that's it. I think we're good.
Inshallah. Please remember us in your dua. Please remember our families in your dua. And keep us in your prayers in these very blessed times. May Allah accept all of your good actions. Sheikh Umar, I usually end us with dua. Will you please give us the honor of ending us with dua?
No, please end us with dua. And if you can mention, inshallah, I know you already mentioned it, but Hassan, his grandmother, and then Imam Asfar's father as well, inshallah.
Inshallah. We're gonna end in about 2 minutes, so I think we'll go ahead and Bismillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. O Allah, all praise and thanks is due to you. O Allah, we praise you and we thank you for all the blessings that you have given us. Ya Allah, we praise you and we thank you infinitely and abundantly for the blessings that we know of and the blessings that we don't know of. Ya Allah, we thank you for the blessing of Islam. We thank you for the blessing of Iman. Ya Allah, we thank you for the blessing of the Quran. O Allah, send your peace and blessings upon our beloved and your beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. O Allah, send your peace and blessings upon his family. O Allah, send your peace and blessings upon his companions. O Allah, we have gathered to reflect on your words, to read your words, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, make us from the people of the Quran. Make us from the people that read, reflect, and practice the Quran. Ya Allah, make us from the people who the Quran is a source of light for them, a source of love for them. Ya Allah, allow us to be a people who are the people of Allah through the Quran. O Allah, inspire us to follow the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Help us to love the way that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved. Help us to worship the way that he worshipped sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Help us to care and serve the way that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam cared and served. O Allah, we are your servants who have sinned by night and by day. Ya Allah, we've sinned many times and consistently, and none can forgive us for our sins but you. O Allah, you are Al-Ghaffar, so forgive us. O Allah, you are Al-Wahhab, so gift us. O Allah, you are Al-Wadud, so love us. O Allah, you are Ar-Rahman, so have mercy on us. O Allah, you are Ar-Razzaq, so grant us all that we need. O Allah, you are ala kulli shay'in qadir. You are capable of all things. We ask of you in this blessed night to free us from the hellfire. Ya Allah, forgive us and grant us Jannah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, free us from the hellfire and enter us into Jannah. O Allah, enter our mothers into Jannah. O Allah, enter our fathers into Jannah. O Allah, enter all of our loved ones into Jannah. O Allah, our beloved Hasana, whose grandmother has passed away. O Allah, shower her with mercy and forgiveness and allow her grave to be vast and allow it to be an abode of paradise. O Allah, our beloved Imam Asfaruddin has lost his father. We ask of you, O Allah, that you allow his father's grave to be illuminated with the light of Iman, that you allow it to be vast, and that you allow it, O Allah, through your mercy and through your forgiveness, to be easy for him and for his family during this time, and that unite us with all of our loved ones that we have lost in the highest of Jannah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakumullah khairan. I know that we've ended on the gram, but we're still on Facebook. Jazakumullah khairan, Facebook family, for joining us. And Jazakumullah khairan again, Sheikh Omar. Barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.